CRM, when you put it into the CRM, they're putting them in there and they're not even good leads. And so it kind of trashes up the lead sheet, and we were trying to do it a different way so we could go through them before they hit the CRM, because half the time there's a few that are okay, but most of the time they're not even good leads or good, not good comps, and just.
Are they getting feedback on that to help improve the quality of it?
Yes. I mean, we try. I mean, sometimes the people that I think we're getting it, I'm like, all right, he's one of the guys that's giving me comps like 17 miles away and just stuff like that. It's like, where are you coming up with these comps, man? Like, these comps are literally, one was 17 miles from the property, and it's just like, I don't know. It's, I think they're coming along okay, and then stuff like this happens. And it's like, I don't understand what I'm doing. I mean, what more I can say, I guess, to but he does go super quick.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you. Manual processes are always risky, though, because you have so many hands in it. And I think that was why the solution was, hey, let's have them. It might be less fruitful leads, but have them fill the link out. That way we can at least capture the data point. Like, all right, we know that Susie as a PF is sending, she's got momentum, but is it good momentum? Like, what's the metric? So when we don't have everything centralized in the CRM, we lose that visibility and we can't give them that feedback. But if you do it manually, there's a lot more risk there, right? You already learned that yesterday.
Yeah.
I guess the PFs, could they not repopulate that and just put them in through the link in the CRM? I mean, it would probably be doing the work twice, but.
Yeah, I mean, we've already Brittany kind of made what the deal is there's too many, somebody's like the holder of the spreadsheet / computer or the calculator. And I guess too many people they start messing with it, and they'll start messing with the calculator. And that's where kind of all of the problem kind of starts happening, because they adjust. I don't know. Sometimes some of these people are adjusting all kinds of different things, and it's like, why are you doing this? Like, I don't understand.
YouTube.
Well, I guess you see why we hadn't originally given everybody access to that, because then you kind of lose the formulaic strategy of it. I think it's okay for the acquisitions managers to have access to it, understanding how fragile that can be. If you change it on one, it changes it for all of them. I'm sure we still have the master, though, right, Ralph?
Well, yeah. Nobody should have access to the actual master except for us. Yeah, and the DMs can tweak the constants, but I think it's only the DMs that have access to the constants.
I only gave the DMs access to it, so unless that's changed in the last week, and guys, I'm sorry. I feel like I thought I was getting better, and today I woke up at like 3 o'clock in the morning, and I feel like I got hit by a truck again. So I'm in go in a minute. But yeah, I'll probably have to mute myself for sneezing and sniffling.
I'm sorry, Lynn.
So tired of this day.
We appreciate you guys being here, although you're not feeling well.
So on what he's talking about with the calculator, it's not the calculator like I built like a little comping tool and attached it. Yeah. So it's not the calculator part that figures up the MAO and the ARV. It's this basically like when you're going through and comping and you have to figure price per square feet and then make modifications for maybe if it's sold, like we've tightened it down to like 60 days. And so if it's beyond 60 days, we're taking a percentage off of it. And modifying for pools and garages and things like that. And so that's what he's talking about. So like they have that, it literally does all the calculations for them, but they're not using it, but it was attached. So like, I guess Janelle had the spreadsheet that she was using, and we were like, that's a really great idea. And the calculator is locked and protected, but it's another tab on the spreadsheet. And so for people to copy it, I even did a Loom video that was very specific. Like when you copy this, you have to copy it to your drive and not this drive. And then so people were copying it, and it ended up being like there were all these tabs in the same spreadsheet. And then I think that's how the spreadsheet got deleted, because somebody, I honestly, I don't know, but yeah, it's they can't change the calculator, the calculations, I guess, is that what I'm trying to say. But we ended up just taking the calculator out of the spreadsheet and put it in a separate tab. So if someone copied it and then accidentally deleted theirs, it wouldn't delete anything on the main one. So
yeah,
I don't know. It's been a whole thing.
yeah.
So,
If you build a calculator or something, make sure you don't give other people access edit rights.
right.
Only so they can't mess up your calculator.
Yeah. And nobody has access to that, but like for everybody to be able to enter in on the actual spreadsheet, like the property list, I mean, they have to, they won't be able to add in their properties, and that's why we separated it that way. Quit, buddy. Yeah, I don't know.
Moving
they're
forward, if we could just keep it all in the in the CRM, and it's if it's in a spreadsheet, you're still going to have to fiddle with it anyway. So instead of viewing it as clouding up the CRM, just look at it, and if it's if it needs attention, well, Mike, you're here. What would you say is the role that they should, what should they do if it, like they need to bounce it back to the property finder because it still needs their attention? So how would you manage that in the CRM?
You're muted.
You're muted.
Mike, you're muted.
Can't hear you.
Free, go over there and help him. Yeah, come on. But yeah, while he's getting that together, Ryan, I did put a message in the chat because I saw that happen yesterday, that we were working on making sure that we get everybody into the CRM, because if that, those are the things that we don't want to happen, is to lose all that information. So what Mike is great, I guess, discuss now that he's on, but we're going to start to gradually get all the action takers, not just everybody and anybody. It's just going to have to make sense. So when we do talk to you guys, that's why we're trying to get rid of the people that are not taking action, because we don't want them in the CRM. We only want people in there that's going to really just do the work and take action on everything that we're doing. And so Mike is going on now.
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, I've been playing around with a lot of different microphone setups. And I literally just came from another call and it was working just fine. So, within the CRM, just like any CRM, you can do assignments, you can do tasks. So like in the notes of any record, you can, once there's someone in the field, you can do @Alex, @Ralph, @Brittany. And it'll send a note and a prompt in their dashboard for them that they have to follow up with something, or they have a message to follow up on. That's one way to do it. You can also just assign the whole record back to them. So instead of you owning the record, you could assign it back to another individual. For example, another method is somebody assigned a lead to Alex as an appointment. It left the queue entirely for everybody else, but it shows up in Alex's queue because he had an appointment set in his name, and it was a typo that brought Alex in. But the point is the whole reason of using the CRM is that you can track and follow, and there's ownership and sort of a visual dashboard, as well as if you run a report, you can see, okay, this person has these properties showing in their active leads. And the way the hierarchy or the funnel works is, the property finder is only going to see things in their market, and they're only going to see stuff or care about stuff that's in one or two of the column categories. And then the acquisitions managers can mostly ignore those first two columns, as they only focus on the ones that actually they've reached out to, made contact with, or set appointments to follow up on, and they're moving it through into progression. Dispo gets to see the entire market from end to end, all the property finders, all the acquisitions people, but everyone only kind of sees what flows underneath them. So you only see your stuff, your market, your property finders. Dispo sees the whole market and all of them. Team manager then sees all the markets and all those things under. So, if you were to look at Lynn's dashboard, it's got like triple the numbers of anything that you're used to looking at. And then effectively the owners see the same data. It shows differently based on your rights and privileges, and mostly what you care to look at is one way to put it.
So Mike's in the process of moving in property finders, or will be, if not yet. And the idea is that he mentioned that we only want action takers. So we have been telling them in their onboarding, in their PF training, they have to produce a minimum of 15 into the CRM per week. 15, not offers, but 15 leads into the CRM each week, or they're gone. So, and that's what we posted as well in the acquisitions channel. So it's time to get people out, if you haven't already, that are not action takers. So, we just need to, we want to help people, but we also want to make sure that they're wanting to be helped and that they're producing, because in the end, this is a business. Everyone here wants a paycheck, and we want to, balance out that. It's primarily a money-making opportunity. It's also a help others out, but it's primarily something that all of us can financially benefit from. So please let Lynn know if somebody is not producing and they need to go, so that we can move forward in getting that accomplished. And Alex has moved some people in. So if your team is short on PFs because people are gone, we can move new people in. And the new people have more in-depth training than the old people. And we're also upfront telling them you have to produce, because we can't waste time on somebody that doesn't want to produce. So we can reflect that same mindset in a kind way to everybody, then that'll help. And also, we don't want to cloud up Mike Jones' admin work with non-producers either, because there's a fair amount of work that goes into setting somebody up in the front end. So there's no sense on letting people in that aren't going to produce. So we're trying to keep that mindset up front on their introductory meeting, on their training, to make sure that they have that mindset coming into this from, moving forward as of a couple of weeks ago. So let's see here. Yeah, so one thing I wanted to ask, or we wanted to ask as a team, we were talking about yesterday, if you had to have, if you had a clean slate and we didn't have the structure that we have currently, do you have any ideas that might make the system flow better? We've been making tweaks as we move along. For example, not having the PS required to put in an offer, but is there anything that you see that could be tweaked to improve the system? And please don't feel like you're stepping on anyone's toes. We are here as, we want your input. We're open to adjustments, but the idea is that, this is beneficial for all of us. So if, feel free to let it out. If you have any ideas that you have that could improve, just imagine a clean slate, a clean drawing board, how you would organize things or what you would do differently. And we'd like to hear your input if you would be happy to provide that.
I have
Well, and
one.
just to echo, oh, go ahead.
Sorry, go ahead, Ben.
I was just gonna
Everybody got
echo-
one.
I was gonna echo what Ralph was saying is like, when we were chatting yesterday, the spirit of this here is, I feel like you guys all have really boots on the ground, even though you don't physically connect with your folks. You've got a much more hands-on visibility into how this is really working. And, you know, we're getting that information through you. So we're really valuing the transparency that we're hoping you'll give in your feedback. I'm going to be really honest. I've given some very transparent feedback. Doesn't mean we're going to use all those ideas, but I think if you were in the driver's seat, like Ralph was saying, how would you design this? Knowing what you know today, how would you design it? And this is a brainstorming, right? Doesn't mean we're going to change everything, but I think just creating this safe place for everybody just to be like, what if, you know, this is kind of what I think would work. Now, who had spoken up? Was it Jorge or Rayhan?
That was me.
Okay,
Excuse
go
me.
for it.
No, my suggestion would be that I've had 2 or 3 property finders come to me because their manager wasn't reaching out to them, and which I don't have a problem with. The only thing is, I know Alex had one where, hey George, thanks for taking care of it, but which I didn't mind. But my thing is, at what point does it get to, or at one point do I stop and say, okay, now I'm taking over the whole thing, even though she's not even in my market, right? And the other thing too is how, I mean, what time do we tell the property finders, hey, if you have a suggestion or a question, or you're talking to a seller and your manager doesn't get a hold of you within a certain amount of time, do we tell them, talk to another manager, or maybe that manager can relay a message to the other managers, hey, I won't be available between this time and this time. So I've asked, you know, my team to contact you or contact whoever's available. So that way they're not left in the dark.
So, Jorge, let me see if I'm understanding or following what you're saying.
Right.
You're giving an example of basically an orphaned property finder that their direct leader or acquisitions manager really isn't as responsive as they need them to be. And so you're kind of filling the gap. Is that what you're saying?
Right, or anyone else.
Okay.
Right, any other manager.
So you're talking about improving the communication channels so we can shorten the relief time to getting them the support they need, but not overburdening one particular very kind, generous person that people want to go to, right? We talked about something like that. And so I won't turn this into a solutions conversation, but I think you're onto something. And I think we can probably open that up, you know, Ralph, Alex, Cree here in a little chat about that. What do you think?
Yeah, I did, because I was the one that talked to George about it, and I let him know. And then I made a post in there as well about, you know, I didn't want him to step on the other acquisitions' toes, but he did reach out to me. And
Yeah.
just for that matter, we just couldn't find that person at the time. So he just took the initiative at that point, but I didn't want to do cross marketing like that. I wanted to kind of flow up. So if you're having that issue with the property finders, you should be able to go to your acquisitions. And if at that point you can't find your acquisitions, the dispositions, and then team manager. So it should kind of be a level of how you move in between the system.
Yeah, and like I was saying earlier, I want to make sure we keep this open to, hey, here's how I would, you know, rewrite the story. But
Yes.
hey, I think I'll make myself available. If you feel like, hey, this is outside of my team, just reach out to me and I'll reach out to them directly. The one thing I think we want to look at is, are we making it too hard on a property finder to get support if the acquisitions kind of orphan them and then they got to find somebody else to talk to and somebody else to talk to. In the interim, until we figure out what that long-term solution is, if you want to just text me and be like, hey, can you just reach out to this person? I can figure out the solution rather than you having to figure out the solution. Does that help?
No, I'm not overburdened. It doesn't, to me, it doesn't matter, but I can, you know, I can handle it if they call me, but that would also mean the property finders would have the ability to contact other management, right? So that's the other
Yeah.
question is, I mean, do you guys care about that? And then, of course, you do have, like most new wholesalers, you find something, you think it's the best thing ever, you think you're going to make $1 million on it, you're going to call everybody and their mother within 5 minutes. Sometimes you do get that. And you just bring them down to earth, say, okay, let's start from scratch, let's start doing this, which I do, and they learn a lot. But I am actually going to be on a Zoom today with Kim today. We're going to do Zoom from start to finish. I'm going to sign 2 contracts today as well. So
Nice.
we're going to do I'm going to do a Zoom, brand fresh, brand new trainer on a new house that she found, and we're going to go from there because she was just wondering how I've been signing contracts and stuff. They haven't always, went all the way to the finish line, but I'm sure exactly when both parties agree, we both sign, and then something probably happens. I don't know what happens. Some of the contracts that we get, it just, yeah, that's another story. But I have 2 contracts right now. I'm actually looking at them, and my stipulations aren't in there, so I can't sign them. You know what I mean? So I have to go back and forth, and those are the things that I want the property finders to understand before they make any promises to the agents.
Yeah. And it takes time. It takes reps to do that. I mean, I have people on my team that have been wholesaling for almost a year, and they're basically lead generators on my team. They pre-screen the leads as they're coming in, they're warm leads, and they basically pre-screen them and set appointments. And they've been wholesaling for a year, and I still have to go back and give them feedback and be like, well, let's go back to the basics. I need the 4 key pillars to get on the phone with them on an appointment, because if I don't have that information, it's not really an appointment, is it? So, because often I wind up spending, and this is not this business, it's my other business, but I think it just goes to say, it just takes time to get people to that level, right, where they can work really independently. So I think that's a really good note. That is anybody else feeling that way? Anybody else feeling like, the time that they're needing to pour into property managers is more than you expected, or is it manageable? Talk to us about that.
Do you mean
Well,
property
sure.
finder?
Not just about that, but any suggestion you have,
Any
including that.
suggestion? Yeah, anything. But what were you saying, Alan?
You said property managers. I think you meant property finders.
Yeah,
Yes.
property finders.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is such a great and generous question for Ralph and Alex to put out there that, basically saying if we were starting from scratch, because I am literally a blank slate, because I think Mike has, since Mike set me up in the system, other than a few Slack conversations or Discord conversations with Josh and I think Mike was in some of them, I haven't had any real contact. I guess I've had a couple of stray contacts from some property finders, but no real traction. There hasn't. So I'm literally still at the starting line. So I'm open to any way that you decide that this should go, whether it's the same or it gets changed. I think all of us, and the reason we're in the roles we're in, is because we were already doing something like this in our own lives, so to speak, before we came together here. I know I am, and I'm doing it with another group too, that I just started something very similar. And I think the approach that group takes is they're initially texting out based on whatever lists they're working. So that's how they make initial contact with potential sellers. I think what would be helpful to me, and hopefully others, would be if there was more of a breakdown of the schematic, or how the timeline flows, so that we have a good idea of what's happening visually, as well as the real-time updates we might get through the communication channels. And again, I know Pace and others talk about keeping things as frictionless as possible, so I certainly don't want to suggest adding extra steps that are just going to achieve the opposite of the streamlining approach that it sounds like you're all trying to achieve. But I'm basically open to any way to start out fresh, whether it's, in Atlanta, I know originally we were talking about Tampa, the market itself, of course, doesn't really specifically matter, but I'm open to any way that you think would be best for me to stay in touch with who the property finders are. And I'm hearing that they change, they turn over if they're not participating as fully as you'd like them to. And everybody has their reasons, I'm sure, why they do or they don't. But yeah, I mean, I'm right there at the beginning and looking around to see who it is that I'm supposed to be leading, who I'm supposed to be following up with, who I'm supposed to be reporting to, because I know that it sort of sounds like it's building responsibility and authority as it goes down the chain. So the disposition manager has even a higher level view of the whole operation. The acquisition manager has the 10,000-foot view, and then the property finders, of course, are on the ground level. So I don't know if any of this is making sense, but I'm basically saying it's a blank slate with me. If there's any new way to do things other than what I was when I originally signed on to do it, I'm open to it. Or if you want me to just stick to the knitting that exists, I'm happy to do that too. But
Alan, do you know who your property finders are?
I know there was a young woman that contacted. No, I couldn't tell you by name because I haven't had enough contact with them. I know Josh. I believe Josh is the disposition manager.
Yes.
So I see Josh interact every once in a while. But it's like a pit crew that hasn't really put the car out on the track yet. So, it's we're still sort of getting acquainted in the garage.
That is an analogy I have never heard before. So kudos for that.
I love analogies. So
I like
stop
it
me if I
though.
overdo it. They're
Um,
usually food related, but that's a different one.
I will say that part of the issue has definitely been like kind of everyone starting something new, starting something fresh. People getting shifted to different areas also threw things off. I don't know if it's already been announced, but there's also another change in Jacksonville in Florida, which I won't go further into because I'll let somebody else make that announcement. But the situation for you specifically, Alan, is you came in after a whole lot of things that already got put into place and shuffled around, and you were sort of like in the second wave, and the second wave for almost all the other second waves were property finders, and you came in as an acquisitions person. So that was a whole different experience. And I and Josh and Lynn and Ralph and Alex and Pri are at fault for you feeling like you're still at the starting line versus.
That's fine. I mean, it doesn't. I'm not saying that that's good or bad. It's just that I want to feel like I'm contributing so that I don't get put in that at the noisy table that doesn't get to go to lunch yet because
another analogy I haven't heard in quite a while.
I've learned especially in real estate investing, no
What
news
is
is
it?
not necessarily good news. So
I think initially, like right now, today or tomorrow, you, Josh, and any other people in Atlanta need to have a conversation. Vin can jump in as well if she has the time. I'll jump in as well. But I think we need to help you get at least coordinated into the current system to understand how it works and how you should be communicating with the property finders that are currently in place. And then we'll take all the other suggestions that are occurring right now and start applying any new avenues or new methods from there.
yeah, definitely put me in, coach. I'm ready to play. Sports is also an analogy I go to. Thank you. I appreciate it.
The analogy king.
Ryan, you were gonna say something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, if we was, I guess, to start over again, kind of analogy, I think I would, as far as these property finders, I would have property finders just finding leads and actually have underwriters underwriting the deals. just property finders, underwriters, and then to us, because I think it's I don't know, that might be a little easier. I don't know how that would work. Because some of these people, they might be good at finding properties, but they're not good at comping, and
it's a lot for them. If they're brand new, we've found that it's a lot. It's just a lot. Like
Yeah.
they're like having to find the lead, and then I mean they have that calculator, and but then they still have issues with that. And then the comps are like, and that was one of my questions too, is like, I know we're supposed to be checking to make sure that they're comping it correctly, but how long, like if you have someone that's really active and they're submitting as many leads as they're supposed to, but like we're having to go through and continue to check to make sure they're getting the right ARV, and then they're still not really getting it right. Like at what point are you like, okay, because that's really what gets us tied down, is like, because we're having to go back and not recomp. Like if it's all bad, we're like, okay, redo it. But if there's, we're still having to go through and make sure the calculations are right because of just different, they're not figuring in certain things about it, modifications and things like that. And so, yeah, I think that's,
So
I don't know.
A question with that. I totally get the double work issue and, trying to teach how do you say an old dog a new trick? But if they're not comping, do you still see value in their services?
I mean, yeah, like that's
in the on-market scenario. There's on-market and they're off-market, and they're totally different. In the on-market scenario, do you see value in a property finder if they're not comping?
No.
Yeah.
Yeah, because anybody can go pull something off the market, or find something on market to work up. Yeah. So I guess in doing on market, that wouldn't.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, it was just a thought, because I mean, these people, I mean, they some of them can find properties really well, and and just get paid for the lead kind of thing. I don't know. And then some of them, they'll find them, but they can't comp, and vice versa. And yeah, it's super time consuming as far as looking over these guys. I mean, we work hard, but I don't feel like we're efficient when it comes to.
Well, and we even told them, because it's that plus like the agent outreach, and then some people just have issues. They're scared to call agents or whatever the problem is. So we were like, okay, if you can just like find the lead, get it comped and underwritten, and then we'll reach out to the agent.
I'll call the agent.
We need to do that. And then, but it's still,
you can't truly effectively comp it until you've had a little discovery, right? Like you still are at risk of having to redo it once you have that discovery conversation. I mean, are you finding the ones that are capable of comping, you're still having to finesse that?
I mean, like using comps that are not like the way we've explained it. When they're comping them, we want to see what other investors have done in the area, and like things that have been purchased and flipped in a short, there's a difference between a homeowner that's updated their home versus a professional that's come in and flipped it for a profit, and so finding that. But I mean, we still have people that are putting comps in that are like almost like as is, or not really as is anymore, but they're just not, they haven't been updated at all. And I mean, yeah, I don't know.
So scenario question, let's make a blanket statement, because I know some property finders are more skilled than others, right? And so it's not an equal statement right now, but let's assume that we go with that previous statement saying, I'm not sure I find value in that role. Then how do we generate leads? Is that an acquisitions manager? And then they're solely owning that whole process? Or do you have suggestions?
Could I just ask a basic question maybe before we go forward?
Yeah.
Mhm.
And I know, like Mike said, I've probably been out of the loop more than most, but what is the nature of the leads? Are we doing the Elephant Challenge agent, direct to agent only? Are we going direct to seller? And, how much are they being teed up ahead of time? Because I know, yes, even as recently as yesterday, Pace was talking about, he's big about just get on the darn phone. Don't overthink it. Just get on the phone. It may not even be, of course, the property we're calling about that ends up being the deal. It might be, especially with an agent, it might be some other property or deal that is still coming, or it's been long on the market. His coworker might have a listing that hasn't been moving. Can I just ask that basic question? What is the nature of the beast?
Right now, we're supporting and training on the on-market direct to agent.
Yep.
Not direct to seller. That's more complicated as far as the front end of getting the leads, because they haven't raised their hand and saying, I want to sell, right?
Absolutely. I completely agree.
But if somebody brings a lead to the table, we will definitely do those deals. We just are not at this moment supporting whether it be pulling leads from PropStream or whatever other resources are required to get the ball flowing and the training involved with all that. So what we're training and focusing on is on market, but if they have an off market deal they want to bring in, that's perfectly fine. If they're doing their own driving for dollars or whatever it might be, they can bring that to the table.
So are the property finders calling on specific listings, or are they just calling agent outreach and asking if they know of something?
Elephant Challenge, the original Elephant Challenge, the listings primarily using Privy is what we're teaching. If they want to use another tool and bring it to the table, that's fine. But the idea is existing listings. However, we tell them, if they're, call the agent, build a relationship, and ask them if they have other listings, and reach out to them. That relationship can bring in other pocket listings and deals as they come in. So it's kind of a combo, but the initial search process is for on-market deals already, MLS deals, but then build that relationship to bring in other listings, other referrals from the agent.
And so how much teeing up does the property finder have to do before the acquisition manager would jump on the call or call the agent back?
So Alan, did you go to the acquisition manager training? Acquisition manager training.
I may not have. That might be an issue.
Yeah. So let's make sure
within this company, or are you
correct.
talking?
Yes, within this company.
Right.
So how about we bring all these questions to that? These questions are great, but we want to make sure that our time is up in 20 minutes, and we want to make sure we cover what we need to cover here, and we can definitely provide you all that training.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay, so Britt and Ryan, was there any other details you wanted to add?
I think when you asked if there was value with the property finders, I thought you were maybe talking about like if we split up, like what Ryan was saying, but to answer your question, like I think there would be if I could just be like 100% sure that their ARV is correct, I guess, is what our point is that we're not confident that they're giving us the right ARV. And so like when Lynn said, there some things may need to be adjusted once you talk to the realtor, like that's all fine. And I expect that sometimes, because things come up even, when you get into just, different things like in the contract and everything, like things might come up like with the foundation or something, and that can all be adjusted as long as you know what the ARV is in the first place. But I'm just not, there's still some that we've had that are really working hard and putting the leads in, but we still have to go back and kind of tweak their numbers to get that correct ARV. And so I don't know what the answer is, but
so, again, back to the question of a clean drawing slate. Knowing, you guys have had a month and a half or something of experience with these PFs. What do you see as the best solution? You brought out the challenge of training them to comp and not doing it right. And, going through all this scenario, drawing board in front of you, how would you design this? Would you have them do less? Would you get rid of them? Would you have them do something else?
Or would you like acquisitions managers such as yourselves to just kind of take over, find the leads, get the leads, close the leads and put them into the system?
I mean, I've even said that like we have a DFW meeting but I feel like I'm being wrong and not having that like abundance mindset. Like, I feel like I'm the type that I'm like, if I want it done right, I just need to do it myself. But I really honestly feel like we would get a lot more accomplished because Ryan went through how many leads yesterday? He had like,
No, I can
he
get
just
the
on his
leads,
own
man.
went through like on market stuff and like was just pounding them out. And then like, you know, and then you go and you have to recheck all these other ones and they may not be right. They may be like, so it's just, I feel like we could get a lot more accomplished if we were doing that. But then I don't know if I shouldn't think that way. If you have properly trained people, ideally it should be better to have the other people doing that. And then by the time we get it, we should just be like closing and negotiating and not, I don't know.
Well, I'll put you at ease.
I feel like my head's like, I've got like a brain fog. So I don't even know if I'm making sense right now, but like,
I don't think anyone is measuring your abundance mindset. That's not who we are. I think there definitely initially was that spirit, that intent of bringing people along. But we're 6 or more weeks into this now, and I think it's wise to reevaluate. Are we truly getting the result? Are we being good stewards of your time and our time? Again, we're not making decisions on this call, but I think this feedback is necessary to make sure that the system and the process is formulated properly to be good stewards of everybody's time. And if we were, who was it? Alan mentioned Pace earlier. Let's say Pace was on this call and he saw the process. He would give some honest feedback because he wants to see us succeed. So when you remove the emotion from it, and like I said, Brittany, nobody's challenging your abundance mindset, because I've struggled with the same thing. It's like, man, I just really want to help these people succeed.
We're struggling with that now. That's what we're struggling with now as well.
We've got to create some results. Things have got to convert. And my fear would be, if we don't evolve somehow to where you guys are now seeing fruit from your labor at some point in the very near future, you got to be feeling weary a little bit. I don't want to like encourage you to be weary if you're not.
I know. That's part of it.
Just to be honest, I feel like, to be honest, like I went through and did it myself yesterday, and I feel like I got over 100 leads, and I feel like all my of course, are better than the ones that they're sending in to me.
Well, some are coming in,
And
they're already flipped. Like they've been renovated. They're like turnkey. I mean, not just turnkey. They are professional flips, but as the subject property. And I'm like, I can't do a whole lot with this.
Yeah, it's like in 2016, it's like there's no negotiating here, like it's hard to negotiate something that's like there's nothing wrong with it. And that's the kind of stuff they're sending.
You have to have those eyes to be able to be like, deal, no deal, as you're looking at it. My previous career, early in my career, it was like I was a recruiter, resume. I'd have to go through hundreds of resumes every day. I did not read every one, but I had to be very good at assessing it in like 5 minutes and knowing if I'm going to spend time, with that person and continue the process of like 4 or 5 interviews. So I think there might be something there that we want to pay attention to is, do we need to qualify people better? Do we need to put it in the hands of people that have more experience? Is it a training issue? Does training solve it? But let's say we reevaluated and acquisitions are now, you're out there getting your leads, you're doing the lead generation as well as, closing the deal up. How do you feel about that? What does that feel like, using your time that way?
To be honest, I feel like it's less of my time, me doing it. I felt that way. I felt like I got those 100 plus leads, like 102 or 3 leads I did yesterday or the day before. I've been sick the past few days, and I mean, I feel like those leads are better than all the ones that they've, I mean, there are here and there are the decent ones, but yeah, as a group of leads, it's better than all the ones that they've sent me. So I'm just like, I can do that a lot quicker and not having to deal with all that, you know, like,
All right.
I don't know, it almost feels like it takes it. I feel like I'm not being as efficient. Yeah, I'm working hard, but being efficient are two different things. You know what I mean? Like, you can work hard all you want, but if you're not efficient doing it, it doesn't really matter.
But
Well,
having
I'm
said
sure
that,
you're
there
trying
are
to
a
take-
few. Do what?
Go ahead.
I was gonna say, like, one of his new property finders that just came in, like, you can tell pretty quick if they know kind of what they're doing or if they are trainable. Like, she, like, I mean, just from a few Discord messages, you can tell, like, okay,
Right.
she kind of knows what she's doing. She knows what to look for. Like, she's good.
It's like you have it or you don't.
Yeah.
Kind of athletics. You either have it or you don't. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
kind of where I almost came to the conclusion on this kind of stuff. You either got the eye for it or you don't.
Mhm.
And if, yeah, I mean,
What, I just want to add something here. When we're talking property finders and you're saying, oh, we need property finders and then maybe underwriters and then process through to acquisition. Why not let the people who kind of already know it, like that young lady you just mentioned who kind of gets it as a property finder, why not let the new incoming property finder-esque people basically focus on underwriting, not finding properties, but force them to practice the underwriting steps, not finding the deals. Let the people who know a little bit more about what they're looking for, so that they say, what was that young lady's name again?
Haley.
Yeah, Haley, she's gonna
Haley,
be
Haley
great.
Holmes.
So,
Yeah, Haley.
Yeah.
so
I thought
Haley
so.
finds a deal. She already knows what she's doing. She says, this is the ARV. She pops it over to the other people in her group, I guess, or property finding group before it even goes to you guys. And they have to basically support and back up her ARV and comps before it processes through and you guys take it to the next step. So it's taking off that burden or load, and it's rewarding the people who are taking the extra steps as a property finders as we intended it. But it's sort of going back to that training mindset of, if anyone can theoretically find a property on Privity, anyone can reach out to an agent. Yes, we need to get them on phone calls and all that, but it's the real, I don't know, secret sauce is understanding what is a deal, what is not a deal. And that's what we need to teach them on. So if they see Haley finds a deal, they see what a deal really is. Like they have a actual image in front of them, a link and some details, and they have to go in, like maybe an ARV is suggested, but Haley doesn't provide the comps to them. They have to go and basically provide an independent underwriting of what is the ARV on this property. Like Haley already knows it's a likely deal. You guys probably can already assume it's a likely deal, but they have to go in, they have to provide an ARV, they have to provide their own comps, and they may not be exact, but if they're in the same ballpark, and then you show them the supportive, what Haley provided, or you guys go in and you look at not just Haley's ARV and comps and underwriting, but one or two other people's, however many. And it's sort of like the collective underwriting experience. So you can kind of look at it, and maybe we can come up with a method to merge the underwriters' results. So if you get a 400, a 420, and a 350, okay, well, why is there, like, all you have to do is look at the outliers. Why is the 350 so low? Is there something the other ones missed? Is there something that this one, where does the aggregate come together? And maybe the ARV, comes down around 390, 400, maybe it doesn't. But the point is they have to do the work. They're not just sitting around submitting potential prospects that may or may not work out. So they're actually looking at deals. So hopefully that helps train them on, like, what is a deal? not just from, oh, did I find it on Privy, but I did the work. I think that's what it come down to. Everyone I've talked to, every time they submit deals to me, when I ask for the basics of information, oh, I just sent you the property because it looked like a deal. Why did it look like a deal? Well, I don't know exactly. And I think the elephant challenge, frustratingly so, kind of vaguely references the old months where they were focusing on comping and underwriting and has just moved on. Like multifamily this month is great. They're gonna hopefully understand how to comp and underwrite multifamily, but if they can't do that for single family, like, you're just
I
amplifying.
saw that and I was like, whoa, we're doing
information.
multifamily now. Cool.
Could
I
I
don't
ask
think
one
you-
quick, could I ask one quick question? Ryan and Brittany made me think of,
Yeah,
it's
yes, sir.
related. Yeah, and when you were talking to Lynn and then Mike fleshing it out, is it possible for us to recruit our own property finders? I mean, obviously vetted by Ralph and Mike and Alex, but
Yes,
I'm
absolutely.
just thinking, because most of us are probably elephant leaders back in our own sub-2 groups. I know I am in New England. And I'm just thinking, based on what Ryan and Brittany were talking about, would that be helpful? Because if these would be people we certainly know a little bit better, and they may or may
Absolutely.
not work out, but what about that?
100%. Yeah, there's a lot of people that do that and that works out well.
Okay,
So
I hadn't
feel
thought of
free
that
to do
before.
that. Yeah.
Okay,
Mhm.
We only have about 6 minutes left and I want to make sure to give others opportunity. Rayhan, Janelle, and Josh. I think those are the only ones that haven't spoken yet. Do you have any input? We'd love to hear your input too.
I'll go through some of my stuff real quick. So one of the recommendations, I think I mentioned this to you, Ralph, a couple weeks ago. Some kind of overall helicopter view, diagram, mind map, something of the process would probably, in a visual sense, probably would help people. That's just one little tip. So I have a property finder who said they're out for 2 weeks because they've got a medical issue. So how do I handle that?
Yeah, that's no problem.
Okay.
Things come up in life if they have
Yeah.
medical issues or,
All right.
we understand people need to take vacations too, right?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's not a problem. The problem is when they're just eternally checked out.
Yeah.
Or they're,
So-
1 week on, 1 week off, 1 week on, 1 week
Yeah.
off. They need to be producers.
So
but-
should I forward the couple who I think should probably be replaced to Lynn? Should I and then you guys handle that on your end?
Yeah.
Because some of them aren't doing it. Like there's a couple who are making efforts, although they're not up to the 10, 15 yet, but they're trying, but the couple who haven't. So I mean, like you said, like
if you think they can be helped, that's fine.
well, I
but-
mean, they gotta put something in. They gotta reach
Yeah.
out. They haven't put anything in. Like there's a 3 or 4 who are actually putting stuff
Yeah.
in, and then another couple who just haven't and just aren't, despite being on the meetings and stuff. So I mean, just like, okay, let's just move on with them.
Sometimes, if they're not doing the 15, maybe they're doing 5, right? Weigh out if they're really worth helping to get to that point, as in, are they striving, are they trying, and are they making progress? Because trying and making progress are 2 things, right? But if they're there, somebody else is not there, and which is the
Right.
better scenario? Like Ryan and Brittany just mentioned, they got on Haley, right? And Haley is a great opportunity. So if you are stuck helping out people that are challenged, you're not getting in those new opportunities that might be better. So just weigh that out, and primarily we need them to be doing production, and it has to be working for them.
Yeah, a couple of them aren't doing anything. That's what I would definitely do, despite being on the Zooms and talking and stuff. So I mean, we could just move on with those particular 2, but I've got about 4 who are actually trying though. So
Rayhan, I
Well,
just sent an updated list of everybody we have listed on your team. So after this call, if you want to just respond to that Discord, and we can kind of go through those one by one.
Which channel? Which channel are you?
I put it in a
on?
private Discord, just a DM message on Discord for you.
Just DM you?
I already sent it to you in a DM.
Oh, okay, I didn't, okay. All right, yeah, okay. Other than that, who do I talk to if I got a couple of technical issues with the email? This doesn't really have anything to do with that, but who do I talk to?
I'll reach out to you,
That would
Rayhan.
be Mike.
Okay. All right, and then Jorge, that Kathleen Crane issue, I think you were referring to where she reached out to you where I wasn't available for a couple of days because I had an issue with my son. There was a realtor who kept calling her all the time, kept calling her, and she didn't know what to do with that realtor because I hadn't followed up with the realtor yet because you guys know about that issue with my son, but that
Yes.
was that main issue where there was just a realtor who just kept calling her back, and then that's why she was like reaching out and stuff. But other than that, I know we're limited on time, so I'll those are the main issues. So
No, thank you. Appreciate that, Ray. And Janelle, who basically agreed with Ryan and Britt's comments. What about who are we missing? I think we're missing
Gosh, but it
John?
looks like he might be on a phone call.
Yeah, I think he's on a call or something. He's talking in the background. But before we even get to that, I just wanted to let everybody know as well, with Aji had to resign for health issues and time that she was going to be able to put in with us. And so at the moment, we had Jacksonville open, but now Mike is going to take over Jacksonville going forward. So he will be the disposition person there. So if anybody needs to reach out to Rayhan and Vonda, I know she's not on the call, but we'll have to talk to her as well. But from going forward, Mike will be the disposition for Jacksonville. And so we're going to start to revamp everything. And as we were touching on before, I want if everybody can kind of go through their property finders and find out who is there, who is not, who's working, who's going to be with you guys. Let us know. We'll remove them. And back to that clean slate again, we're going to try to move everybody out that's not active, leave the people with you that are active and work with those people and help them get a little bit better.
Josh said he's free to chat. Go ahead,
Oh.
Josh.
Okay.
Okay, I didn't hear the last probably 5 or 10 minutes, mostly, but I mean, as far as like my team and running it, I mean, I'm, as I'd kind of expressed before, kind of the same situation as everybody else. It's a lot of dredging through leads that aren't good, and trying to work through them and trying to coach my PFs who are active to, what more to go for. I said prior, part of those crappy leads might be somewhat my fault because I kind of pulled the floodgate back to try to just get them active and finding properties and submitting offers, if that's a step they wanted to take or we were going to take. But it's been a lot more, I guess, discovery and analyzing than, making deals, more or less. Haven't got any across the table yet. I know we have made a lot of offers, but whether those properties are good or bad, is pretty debatable. But having all the same struggles and trying to figure out ways to get over those hurdles, it's just ongoing.
Well, Josh, you might have missed the earlier question at the beginning of the call. We really just wanted that, open feedback of if we kind of did a clean slate, back to the drawing board redesign, how would you design this based on your experiences? Would you change anything?
I guess right off the top, just as far as like the property finders go, I could probably just use less property finders at this point, because I really only have a handful that are active anyways. a lot of people jumped in and wanted to do it, but getting them active has been difficult. And although Atlanta is a extremely large market,
Mhm.
we're still, you know, as far as like fixer properties that we can make offers on, you know, there's not like an overwhelming amount for each person to work on. And if, you know, a handful of property finders could, you know, submit enough deals to keep us plenty busy, because that's kind of where I'm at with like the 3 that are active right now. I've got a lot of leads to work through that I'm working through. And then as far as buyers go, you know, what I have confirmed and active on my end, you know, I think I've got enough, you know, buyers per properties or leads that I'm going through right now. If we could get a deal across the table, you know, just to get started, if that makes sense. Like,
Are those leads coming from property finders, or are you finding those leads yourself?
I was just ready to ask that.
yeah, so I have myself and George Medina, one of my acquisition managers, have been making a lot of offers ourselves, but I do have a lot of properties in the CRM that we're still getting through. You know, and like I said, a lot of them just aren't, you know, worth pursuing, especially what our buyers are buying at too, to try to get those offers in. A lot of them we're still making offers on, but I do have one property finder that is making offers, and the rest are just submitting leads at this point. But I myself have made several offers here and there where I can, and finding properties just to try to get something churning here.
I don't want to cut people off. I do have to go. But if you guys want to keep talking, this is being recorded. So I'll definitely catch it on the recording. But thank you. And I have to go. So
Okay.
All right, we'll finish up here, Ralph.
that sounds good.
So going back to like the efficiency, like I feel like there's a dynamic that I'm hearing in this feedback is like, I really want to help cultivate and develop people, but I feel like I'm being super inefficient. I know that I could get leads generated and deals done, but I feel like maybe that's not the spirit of what we're trying to accomplish here. I think there's another thing at play. Individually, this is probably going to be different for each person. You know, like if your personal mission is to develop and pour into people, or if your personal mission is to be transactional and personally accountable to deals getting done, right? So I feel like everybody potentially has a different best case scenario, right? I still think we need to understand how the most efficient model, how to design the most efficient model so that we can leverage you guys' superpowers and be able to really help push things across the line by putting you in a position to be leveraged the best way possible. Having heard everybody else's feedback, is there anybody else that's kind of, you know, wanting to speak up and be like, hey, this is what I would do? Because otherwise we're going to take this feedback and probably mull this over again. And the problem that I see potentially happening is nothing changes and we just keep doing things and maybe just shortening the list of PFs. I don't want us to get 8 weeks and 10 weeks down the road and still have the KPIs of a lot of activity, no results. I don't think that's fun for anybody, right? So this is one of those, just like lay the cards on the table. Let's, you know, if you feel invested in this and you want to provide some really candid feedback, the floor is still open for that. If you guys want to message one of us privately and share that, that's also welcome, but you shouldn't feel like anything's off the table here. Any further thoughts?
I do real quick, Lynn. So I just got a list of buyers for all markets now. But feel really good about it. So from a lot of people, so a lot of buyers are the same people, which is really good. So that means that they're buying, right? The bad thing is obviously they're getting really picky and they're dropping prices down because they know they can. So I've adjusted quite a bit myself, and realtors are starting to realize that, hey, you're adjusting, everybody else is adjusting, maybe we should adjust as well. So that's the thing. It's a big trend that's going on right now. Yeah, we just definitely need to train our property finders that, hey, it's not at 75% anymore, it's not at 65%, sometimes it's at 50, 55. I just put 2 offers on yesterday on 2 homes at 42%. So, and they said, okay, we'll think about it. They didn't say, oh, you're crazy, you're nuts. They said, we'll think about it. So that's where we're at right now.
I've had those conversations recently as well, Jorge, and here's the thing that I feel is really important to acknowledge. Someone who's never done a deal is going to be really challenged to have a seasoned conversation with someone to help them, you know, build enough rapport, enough credibility to have that kind of tough conversation. That's where I'm like, okay, how do we put, if we keep property finders as part of the model, how do we put them in a position to be successful?
Well, this is perfect because, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, without creating more work for the acquisitions team.
This is perfect because along with Josh's recommendation, the less people we work with, the more, you know, the more quality comes out of them. Because like I have a 1-to-1 today with Kim. I'm going to tell her exactly what I did and how to do it when we're going to start from scratch. So she'll know. I mean, granted, it'll be her first time doing it with me, but you know, now that she'll, you know, I'll put all the tools on the table for her, she'll start to use them, right? And then she'll come back to me. And I could do this to the other property finders that are, you know, engaging. You know, granted, we don't have all of them working, but the ones that do, it's only a handful. So it's, for me, it's not a big deal. But when you do have like 10 or more, it's kind of a little tough.
Yeah. So what I hear from that, tell me if I'm wrong, but what I hear you saying is, I feel like I could be more effective with a smaller team. I'm going to read between the lines. I could pour into them a little bit more, kind of handhold them a little bit more. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I think in my case, you know, quality is better than quantity, right?
All right. Anybody else speak up? I feel like Jay's got something, or Ryan's got something to say.
Yeah, I feel like sitting here thinking about all this. I feel like if I had a couple of solid underwriters that I could trust to do the underwriting, I think we could really get some stuff done. Like,
so like on the other side of that, we were like, yes, let's take on some more property finders, because there was only a couple that were even doing anything. And so we're like, yeah, bring in some more and we can. But then when we made the requirement of like 10 to 15 per week, it's like now everybody's putting them in, but they're just pretty much they're just crap. And so it's like we've got tons of like I don't know, just going back and checking. It would be like, I think after, it's like Josh said, he opened the floodgates, and I'm like, I feel like we did the same thing. Like we took on more people and now everybody's submitting stuff, but none of it's very good. But like, yeah, just like a few people that were really good, that know what they're doing and know how to comp, know how to underwrite. That would be better than having a bunch that are kind of like,
because if I could throw a couple people some underwriting, I mean, I could find the leads easy, just boom. I mean, all day long, it's easy to get, for me, it's easy to find leads. And then if they could underwrite it and I could get on the phone with the agent, it would just be a lot.
So that's the process.
Well, because we both love to teach and do all that. It's not that we don't want to do that, but it almost seems like you're spinning your wheels because you put time into it and then they still don't get it. And then like we don't really have the luxury to just teach just for fun. Like this is our livelihood too. Like we have to make money, and so there's that balance. But I mean, yeah, it might be better to just have less
that know what they're doing,
really good,
that I can count on, that I don't have to go back and
check their
work and just be like, all right, that's it, and not have to worry about it. And I mean, it would be just so much, just a lot smoother, I feel like.
Do you have enough visibility? Because I know we, at the top of the call, we were talking about the spreadsheet and all of that, but do you have enough visibility that you can look at your list of PFs now and go, you know what, these 8 people, they're just not ready. And then, you know, stay with like the top 4 that you can really cultivate? Do you think you have enough information to make that kind of decision?
I need to touch, I know I got a few more of them that's came on here recently. I've talked to a couple of them, reaching out to a few more today, but I mean, the ones that I've talked to, I mean, some of the ones that we've had from the get-go, I would just like be done with them, because I mean, if they haven't got it by now, I don't know what else to do, you know, kind of thing. Like, I mean, the nicest way possible, but yeah, they need to go, you know, and some of them do. And but yeah, I mean, I could definitely cultivate, you know, 3 or 4 of them to do what we need done, and yeah, and get the ball rolling.
Get the ball rolling, get the rest of them out of there.
Yeah,
Yeah,
most part.
you could almost, not to over engineer it, but you could almost have a quick, you know, daily 15-minute, like, here's the agenda today. Let's go attack this. And, you know, with a smaller group of people, you can have better traction that way. We haven't proven that yet, right? But I think we have proven that spreading ourselves too thin is probably not in the long run going to get us what we are looking for. Okay, so I like the underwriting idea. I think it complicates things because we're adding another layer. In the spirit of trying to make things as efficient as possible, if you can create because the idea would be to scale this thing, right, is property finders excel and they become an acquisitions manager. They've got to learn how to do all of that. And so if you can really just pour yourself into the smaller group of people that you can then cultivate into another leader, then that's how we can really, you know, duplicate our efforts, right? I think the most important thing right now is getting such a focused application of what we're doing on a day-to-day that we can produce results in a very short period of time. In my heart, we need to have some deals fully under contract before Christmas. Like, I think for everybody's mindset and benefit. And so instead of the potential default, especially for people who don't understand, they've not done deals before, they're like, oh, it's the holidays, I'm busy. Like, you got to turn it up for the next 2 weeks, folks. Like, you've got to turn it up, whether it's your personal business or Harp Homes. The intensity has to be turned up, because there is some truth to not a lot's going to happen that week after Christmas because of where Christmas falls this week, and people are going to be traveling and doing things like that. Anybody who's going to spend money to buy a deal, they're spending money right now. When we get to the last week of December, it's going to be slim pickings on buyers. And I don't have a crystal ball, but I'd say the first week of January, people are going to be like, well, I didn't spend the money I needed to spend. I'm going to be super picky about what I buy in early 2023, right? So I think we need to be prepared for that. And when you're working with a smaller group of people, you can really nuance in your market what those parameters are, right? So I don't know. Anybody else have thoughts? I think this has been productive. I mean, certainly giving some really great feedback.
Yeah,
Josh?
I agree.
They want
Yeah, could
to,
I?
like,
Good,
ask a
Alan.
question? Um,
stuff at
And
the-
whoever that was, speak up.
Yep. Are we trying to put together just cash offers, or are we open to making creative as well?
We can do creative deals.
Yep.
Mike and I can underwrite creative deals with you. Ellen, I don't know how much experience you have in sub 2 underwriting creative deals, but anybody that wants to present a creative offer, just reach out to Mike or I, and we'll help underwrite it for you to make sure that it's structured in a way that we can sell it. Okay.
Okay. And the reason I mentioned it is, oh, go ahead. Yep.
We'd be in a position to assign the creative deal. So
Okay.
we'd just be assigning it.
Okay, yeah, and the reason I bring it up is my former partner and I, she was a realtor up here in Massachusetts, and the way we used to do it is she was my buyer's agent and I was the buyer. So what we would do is basically present a letter of intent with 3 or 4, sometimes even 5 different options. And the first was always the low ball cash offer.
Yeah.
And percentage always, you know, depended on the market and the town and all of that. But
Yeah.
I'm just wondering,
Ellen,
yeah, to
I
make
think
it less friction, is there a way to make a certain percentage cash offer each and every time just to get the conversation going? Like, you know, like 70% or, you know, something like that, just to see if the the agent will bite, or would that be counterproductive?
And Alan, you're in Atlanta, is that right?
That's the one I'm assigned to. I'm right. I'm up
Okay.
in New England.
I would say once you actually go through the acquisitions manager training, a lot of that's going to be answered for you.
Okay.
And then work with Josh, the dispo for that area,
Yes.
because he can help kind of like tweak those calculators that we use to populate those scenarios. But
Okay.
yeah, I agree with you. And that's where the rub is at. That's where the tension is at, because most property finders are not in a position to even have those conversations, much less make an offer. Like they don't even know what information to ask for. And you know how sensitive presenting a creative option is. You sometimes get that first impression to either win people over to a creative option, or you're going to botch it and they're just going to kind of be looking at you sideways. So I think that's definitely an acquisitions conversation rather than a PF. But I think a lot of the stuff you're talking about is really in line with everything that you're going to see in the acquisitions training. So make sure you connect with Ralph after this, and definitely connect with Josh on the market specific stuff. I know
Okay.
Janelle's at the airport. Jorge, I know we've talked to all of you guys. Anybody else have anything? And then we can just wrap up if not.
Actually, can I add one more thing? Sorry.
Sure.
Today I'm Mr. Talkative today. I 95% of my deals are creative. So
That's great.
so
I love
they're
that.
going for it.
fine.
They are going for it. And I do notice that when I put in a schedule, they like that. Realtors, the agents, and the sellers. When you drop in a schedule, they love it. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, look at it. They see the money, you know. So excuse me. So that's just a hint. If whoever wants to take on those creative deals, but yeah. And then obviously we'll wrap them up in a package, like you said, and we can.
Yeah, I do that. I do that in my personal business too, Jorge. A lot of it's just efficiency for me, but I think there is such a huge value in it. Provides credibility, professionalism, and all these things. Just people time blocking and valuing time. My team and my personal business, they pre-screen everything for me, and they find out all of the motivation, condition, everything, and they add that to our CRM in the notes, and then they set an appointment for me. So I have a pre-prescribed time within the next 36 hours to give those people a call. And I'm telling you, that's the most effective way for me. So I totally agree with you, because it's already kind of warmed up a little bit. And I think if we could get our property finders to the place where they're warming it up and really helping tee up the conversation, then those more advanced conversations for, hey, I've got a great idea. I think, the more I've learned about this property, I think I've got a couple of other options that we can look at as well. And then now you've teed that up for having those options to present. So let's continue to think and mull on this, how we best leverage the folks we have on the team. How do we look at this model going forward to make sure that we're creating results and leveraging everybody really well? If you think of something later, message Ralph, Alex, or myself and let us know what your thoughts are. And then I'm sure, Alex, I think I can say this pretty confidently, we'll probably be in touch for a follow-up within a day or two, right? With
Yes,
any clarity.
absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah, we want to kind of soak up this information and feedback. But what I would ask in the interim, just like I sent Rayhan his list, and he's already been messaging me, I'm going to resend everybody the current list of your PFs. And if you can take another fresh look at those, and really, now that we've had this conversation, look at that through a lens of, who do I really feel like I can invest my time in and cultivate them? Are they at the level? Are they at the, they're taking action, but they also have the aptitude that we can really develop them? And then just message me back and forth on Discord so that we can, and let's do it privately so we don't accidentally share that publicly with anybody.
Right, within a group.
Yeah, there's so many channels in there. Sometimes I don't know who's in there. But I'll copy and paste that, just a snapshot of your teams to each person. And if you can just give me that feedback, I think that'll help us quickly pivot to the most effective use of your time. Sound good? All right. Anything else for anybody? Alex, Pri?
No, I'm all set. It was a good call and we're gonna go back and figure everything out. And like I said, the next day or two, we're gonna talk about it and see what we can do to make things better. And
Yeah.
we just want everybody to succeed and we love the people that we have and to grow this, exponentially is our goal. And so I'm happy to have everybody here and thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody. Hope you feel better, Britt.
All right, guys. All right,
Bye.
everyone. Bye.
Take care.
Thanks
everybody.
very much. Take care.
All right.